Hi, it's Kayce. I was watching training videos today, which I don't do very often because I'm really want to be careful about accidentally getting an idea from somebody and incorporating it into my materials. It turns out I didn't need to worry, not one bit. I watched probably 15 videos today. And in particular, I was looking for videos that showed what people were doing to get relaxation and to solve problems of hyperarousal, reactivity, that kind of thing. And I wouldn't expect a professional to show you how to do this on the internet. This is their proprietary information. But it looked like they were doing it anyway. There was video after video saying, do this to fix your dog. Do this to fix your dog in 15 seconds. Do this to do counter conditioning. You know what? None of them did anything. They lectured theoretically what you would do. Some of the people said things that were absolutely wrong. One person said, if you miss the timing when you're correcting an animal, said two different things. Once he said, don't worry about it in the moment. Plan to come back later and fix it. What? What? If you can fix a problem in the moment, do it. Because one of the biggest complications in fixing problems is setting up the scenario that you need. So if your dog is fine with, all cats except cats with purple eyes, and you happen to have a cat with purple eyes right there, of course, you're going to try to solve that problem right then, because when else are you going to get a cat with purple eyes? Later on, this same person went on to say that no professional trainers would set an animal up to make a correction. What? That is the only way you do it, because the timing on a correction must be exquisite. I don't know where these guys get these ideas that you can wait 3 seconds. That is way sloppier than it needs to be. Do I sound opinionated on this? It's only because I have thousands and thousands of hours of experience. Let me tell you what, your timing on a correction must be every bit as precise as your timing on a reinforcement. Okay? And because you often don't expect that you have to make a correction, you don't expect a mistake, you don't expect the animal to act out, you're not ready to make the connection or the correction at the moment that it happens. And this person was right about one thing. You do not want to make a correction at the incorrect timing. The optimal timing is love-dub, a heartbeat after the event. So this is a very complex subject. I get very irritated because nowadays, people will castigate you for actually talking realistically and frankly about the art of correction. Now, when you correct something, it doesn't mean you torture it, but there are skills, and these are critical skills of teaching and training. And anyway, so when you make a correction, you set the animal up in the similar or same situation, but when you're ready. So let me give you one example. Let's say a sea lion steals a fish out of the bucket. Now, you've already worked on that maybe in the past, maybe the sea lion was a little stressed on this day or just feeling lucky. So they steal a fish. You can see them doing this kind of thing. That tells you they're going to do it again. They're just kind of scoping to see if they got enough leeway to get in there and get their fish and go. So you can set it up. You can take your finger and put it on the bail of the steel bucket. And that sea lion pushes that nose into that bucket. Plop. You just move your thumb and the bail flips over. It's not catastrophic. It's just the bail of a little bucket, but it surprises the heck out of them because it comes right across their nose and they don't like that. And they quit taking your fish, which is much better than them making it into a game. So that when you're walking surrounded by animals, animals in front of you, beside you, behind you, this animal doesn't start a fight with other animals in order to get access to the bucket to steal a fish, or doesn't bite you so that you drop the bucket, etc., etc., etc. So believe me, it is a good idea. If you have a problem like that, you need to methodically work to correction. All right. Now, if you're really good, you can set your training up so the animal answers all its training questions and tests all the situations during training. And then you may never even have a single error or correctable behavior. But if you're not that good, correct the behaviors. So people say things, and as in the case of this person, he said one thing at the beginning, he said another thing at the end. I saw another very highly respected trainer say something about if the animal's drive was high enough, it would push through to do the behavior you wanted. And then the person also said that if the animal's energy was too high, he wouldn't be able to think and form the memories. Well, that's true, which is why I want my animals in a state of calm alertness. I'll give you a spoiler alert. If people don't know how to motivate an animal, they're going to rely on food and toys, getting them razzed up. You just don't need to do that. You don't need to create problems that you then have to solve. You don't have to lure animals like you're doing Tai Chi so that you're in their way and they never even get a chance to see what the heck they're doing. Do you think an animal learns information while he's following a lure? You're distracting him from the information. I guarantee you, we can do everything I saw on this particular video in 3 trials. We watched 7 trials where somebody was trying to teach a target. A target, we're redundant. We give it 3 trials, but it only takes 2. It only takes 2. It's a matter of really a few seconds once you are fluent with the process. So you need to watch out. You can't just watch somebody and say, oh, everybody likes this person. I remember when I first started doing pet seminars, and I was used to doing shows, and people loved the shows. We all had a great time. People were laughing and smiling and relaxing. They were raising their hands halfway through the seminar, asking, could they sign up for the next one? When would the next one be? But they weren't learning anything. I wasn't changing the lives of the animals they would touch. I wasn't happy with that. I'll tell you, I made my own life more difficult because I can't teach by myself. I can only facilitate others learning. And I really had to work to start teaching instead of just entertaining. And do you know what people look like when they are concentrating? They look like this. Man, I started to wonder if they were thinking they'd have me for lunch, right? They were looking kind of grim. But we got really good reviews. It's just sometimes people make comments about SATs animals, animals that are trained by SATs, because they'll look the same way. Because guess what? They're concentrating too. We give a lot of information, and the training goes beautifully, smoothly, and very quickly. Now, I want to give you one other warning to help you evaluate trainers that you're listening to. We have certain terminology and terms that we use to describe things. We tend to say that a dog is hyper aroused or aroused. You might say he's reactive. But we don't know why he's any of those things. And I personally don't agree with a lot of the material on dominance or types of aggression. This animal has fear aggression. This animal has dominance. This animal, how the heck do you know? I mean, with a lot of the animals I work with, I have zero background information on them, especially if I'm working with a staff at a shelter or with shelter animals. So if I'm training the shelter staff or if I'm training the shelter animals, that people that bring them to seminars may not have any idea what their background is. So luckily, it doesn't seem to be very important. We just start the process. And I will admit, every once in a while, when we're doing training videos, when in the classes, when we're doing live video coaching, and I see something, maybe I'll start to laugh. I'll go, that dog is playing you. He's like, do you have an IQ? Let me test that for you. So I'm editorializing there, but I'm not doing it in public. I'm explaining it carefully, and we test it. Was I correct on my assessment, or does it turn out I wasn't? Okay. But really try not to say, this animal is trying to bite because he was traumatized. I hear that all the time. This animal was traumatized by his past owner. You have no idea. I know just as many animals that are born with baggage, just like we are, rather than animals that were inflicted with baggage by somebody else. Okay. So only two things in this video. Watch out for people that can't or don't keep their story straight. If they're telling you different things, if they're changing the principles that they're telling you from one point in their explanation to another, you can't succeed with that. You can't succeed. And they could say, oh, I told you, do this. But they also told you to do that. So that's a danger sign. And be very careful if people are telling you why the animal is doing something. Like they omnisciently know all the animal's behavior, all its background, its personality, its character, its neurological issues. No. Now, as you go along, look for evidence. 15 videos and not a single piece of information that actually told you how to get results. Instead, they talk about principles like this is counter conditioning, This is desensitization. Desensitization is where you start out with little tiny steps and then you keep exposing the animal to the same thing over and over again until it doesn't react. And then the next person said, and then you go bigger and bigger steps and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you, I know plenty of cases where animals have had endless exposure and they never change their behavior. Good luck. In fact, if you have solved a problem using desensitization by itself, please comment. Please comment because I want to talk to you. I don't see it happening. I solve problems all the time like that. And I do use desensitization and I do use counter conditioning, but I also use name and explain, opposing concepts, body work, cycles. You get my drift? It's not healing animal behavior is a complex process. Very doable, pretty fast, actually. Average serious problems serious problems take me an average of around 15 hours to solve. It's going to be some that are more, some I can't solve. But on average, separation anxiety, reactivity, want to eat the cat, even resource guarding. And I don't do so much resource guarding that I have a special protocol for that. I treat it like everything else. And I remember a woman who was a grandmother that had a dog from a shelter and she just loved him, but he was a serious resource guarder and she was worried about her grandchildren. And she applied her techniques and she solved the problem. And yet many places will tell me that they won't even, like rescues, won't even place an animal that shows resource guarding. Like they don't feel prepared to be able to teach that animal reliably to not resource guard. So I'm humble about this. I don't have as much experience with that problem as they do, but I will say that it's cleaned up like anything else in my past experience. Okay, so in summary, beware of the person that speaks with a forked tongue. Beware of the person that presumes to tell you why an animal is doing something and what he thinks and what he means. Beware of the person that tells you they're going to show you how to do something and it's just clickbait. Do this in 15 seconds and they never even talk about the subject. In fact, they don't demonstrate any kind of behavior. I just, you know how you scan the videos to see what the pictures are in them? So I didn't want to listen to this one video, this whole thing. And so I saw a dog. I go, oh, good. They're going to actually train a dog. And I clicked on it. No, they talked about a dog. And then I scanned for it. Oh, here's the dog again. No joy. They didn't actually demonstrate anything for training a dog. They talked about counter conditioning and so on and so forth. Be careful. If you're going to follow somebody and put your own self and your animal's self under the influence of somebody that professes to be an expert, you really need to see evidence. You really need to see recommendations. Okay, go forth, be great, and watch out. Take care. Oh yeah, please please comment. That's what I care about the most. But like, subscribe, take care.